Alright, scholars, let's do one more example of a word problem with rational equations. Alright, so you're throwing darts at a dartboard. So far, 2 out of 10 throws have been bullseyes. Alright, if you know what that means, you have a dartboard and there's a colored circle in the middle of the dartboard, and that's what you're trying to hit with the dart. Okay, that's called the bullseye. Alright, so the question is, how many bullseyes would you have to hit in a row to bring the percentage of bullseyes that you made up to 40%. Alright, so right now we're at a certain ratio, 2 out of 10. And we want to bring this ratio up to 40%. Alright, now we can express 40% as 0.4, or 40 over 100, or you could simplify that to 4 over 10. You could express 40% in this problem however you like, but I'm going to use 0.4 just because I don't like to deal with fractions if I don't have to. Alright, so let's think about what getting a bullseye would do to this ratio. How would it change it? Alright, so let's say we have 2 out of 10 and we throw a dart and we hit the bullseye. Alright, so my number of bullseyes is increased by 1. And the number of darts I've thrown has also increased by 1, right? So now my ratio has gone up to 3 out of 11. And if you do that on your calculator or whatever, you'll see that that's equal to 27.27%. Alright? Well, as you hit more and more bullseyes in a row, this percentage will increase. For example, say you hit 2 in a row. Alright, so you throw 2 darts. Okay, so the number of bullseyes you throw have increased by 2, and also the total number of darts you've thrown has increased by 2. So now we'd have 4 over 12. Alright, so that's a third, which is 0.33 repeating, alright, which is 33.3 repeating percent. Alright, so you can see how the percentage is increasing here. It was at 20%, then it was 27%, then it was 33%. Alright, so you can kind of see that we're getting close to the number that's going to bring us up to 40%. But let's actually use a rational equation. Let's see how to set it up and solve for this algebraically. Alright, so we're starting with our ratio of 2 over 10, and we don't know how many darts we need to throw. So let's just call the number of darts we need to throw in a row to bring the percentage up. Let's just call that x. Alright, so we're throwing x more darts. So we'll have, of course, x more bullseyes. Because remember, this 2 over 10, this is the number of bullseyes over the number of darts thrown. Okay? So we'll add x to the number of bullseyes, and we'll also add x to the number of total darts we've thrown. Okay? And when we do that, this ratio will be equal to 40%. So I'll just call it 0.4. Alright? So now we just have a pretty straightforward rational equation that we want to solve. Now, how do we do that? Okay, a lot of you guys really like to cross multiply, I've noticed. So in that case, you could, so you could put this over 1, it's kind of crazy, and then just cross multiply. That's okay, that'll work. Or you could write 0.4 as 4 out of 10, and then cross multiply that. Any of these things will work. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just multiply both sides by 10 plus x. Because I noticed that this denominator is 10 plus x. So if I multiply the numerator here by 10 plus x, I have a common factor and it cancels out. Alright, so then things simplify. I just have 2 plus x equals 0.4 times 10 plus x. So here we go. Distribute the 0.4. 4 tenths of 10 is 4. And I'll have 0.4 times x. Alright, now what I'm going to do is subtract a 0.4x from both sides. And I'll subtract a 2 from both sides as well. And what I'm left with is 0.6x equals 2. Alright, so then to solve for x, the number of bullseyes we need to throw, we'll just divide by 0.6. And we will get 3 1/3. So 3.33 blah 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 repeating bullseyes that we need to throw. That's a little weird. How can we throw a third of a bullseye? Alright, so The thing to notice here is that if we threw just three straight bullseyes, that wouldn't be enough, okay? Because this, what we just solved for, says that we actually need 3 1/3 to bring it up to 40%. Alright, so just 3 is not going to cut it. So the next highest number of bullseyes we can throw would of course be just 4. Okay, so that'll actually raise the percentage a little bit over 40, but to answer the question, in order to bring the percentage up to 40 or above 40, we need to throw 4 darts that are bullseyes.